everyone. We are here for Tuesday Talks, and Tuesday Talks is all about getting to know an individual from an industry and finding out what makes them tick, what do they care about, how their career reflects that, and what motivates them to keep them going, basically. Now, today's guest is Valeria. Valeria is a performance coach and a mindful trainer. We need one of those in current climate nowadays. Now, Valeria is working with mindset, plan, action, result, and that is how she helps you achieve whatever that is that you are looking to achieve. Let's get Valeria on here.
Ooh, look at me, I'm here.
Hey, hello, Valeria. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm really good. Thank you so much for having me here. How are you? How's your evening going?
I am doing great. Thank you very much. And the evening is even wonderful because that we are having this Tuesday Talks. Thank you for taking the time out and rushing to it as you you were just getting home for this. So thank you for taking the time out to appear on Tuesday Talks.
It is my absolute pleasure. I'm not just saying that we've planned this since what, August?
Yeah, a few months, yeah. A few months.
And I had it in my calendar, didn't move. And I'm really, really happy to be here having this conversation with you.
Wonderful. No, thank you very much. So, Valeria, I don't know if you heard the introduction I've done already. I've done a little introduction, but you're the best person to expand on that and do more justice. So let us know who you are and what you do. And the biggest question that we will talk about after is, that everybody wants to know is, why do you do it, Valeria?
Fair enough. So, yes, I'm Valeria. That's pretty much, I'm not going to go into who am I because that could take us a good amount of hours. But yes, I like to present myself these days pretty much an account manager by day and a performance coach by night. That sounds a little bit Superman-y, and I really love it. And the reason why I have, I would say actually I've pivoted from confidence coach to performance coach, mainly because I'm someone that gets bored really fast. And I wanted things to happen within the collaboration that I've had with clients. So I didn't want to work only on the mindset, which I understand, and I know the power of working at that level. However, I wanted to be able to take what we are working on the mindset into day-to-day activities and actually see something out of that mindset, not just dreams and hopes, but actually actions and performance.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, and I had a bit of your why in there as well. So and that's led you to then help others who are in similar situation as you. I take it, right?
Yes, that was the thing because I've came to the idea of coaching. I want to say once I have had the experience of being coached, which was at the beginning of 21. I had a fantastic coach that helped me a lot on my mindset. We had the 3 months collaboration, and after that, I felt that it's not that I was left at my own devices. By all means, she offered to continue the collaboration, but because I understood the collaboration was a lot on the mindset bit, I was like, what, I actually want to get what I've learned, let it sink in and go further. And that go further for me meant to go to an academy to actually study what coaching is. So I wanted to take those actions. However, what happened in my life, besides that moment of deciding, okay, I want to know more about coaching and learn about it, nothing really changed in my day-to-day. So I still had the same job. I still had the same type of frustration. I was dealing much better with them in the sense that I wouldn't let them get to me, and I was looking forward to evolve in a way that it will get me out of the situations that I wasn't very happy with. But it took me, I want to say, from March up until September to leave my position. Which I always like to call it, when people talk about toxic relationships, that's how I talk about my past work experience. I had a very toxic relationship with my work.
Wow.
So yeah, that was pretty much the way I've experienced it, and I was like, yeah, no, I want to help people on the mindset whilst they are changing stuff in their lives.
No, that's quite interesting in terms of, when you had your pivotal moment and, you still had everything. But what I heard there was also that you started to manage your toxic relationship with better, right? So you were managing it better. Would you think that it would have become less toxic in the long run because now you have better tools to manage with that, maybe a more skilled? Is that a possibility there?
Um, to be very honest, because I was in it for 5 years, at that time it was 4 years and a half, going on to five, and because the environment, the environment was in very old school. I do
Mm,
not think that even if I would have given it even more time, that I would have been able to still stay there. Which I've just said something environment. I'm a firm believer that the environment that got you to a place of depression or a place of anxiety or even very low self-esteem cannot be the you cannot turn things around no matter how much you work on your mindset in a way that it can be the same place where you grow, where you evolve, where you expand. And I believe that those environments need to be left in the past. Once you got the understanding, hey, things are not okay. I'm much better in a better position now. I need to leave this environment. So yes, I had great tools, but the environment was the same. Therefore, the only other change that could have happened was me not to be there anymore.
understood, and I 100% agree with that. Actually, it's and I'm a firm believer of this as well. I even go far to say, if you are able to relocate to a whole different place, you need to do that. Obviously, that, and emphasizing on if, you're right, because it's difficult to do all that. But what happens with that is because you've already had changes within yourself, which means you're more better skilled now. You have better understanding. You are not the same person as the environment you're in anymore. You need the whole new environment to now try everything that you've just learned, right? So input everything, action everything that you have. Because if you're not going to action the new things that you've learned in the same environment, there is no ability there for anybody to understand what's happening, and and all that will just go to waste in my views anyway. So I'm a firm believer of, if you're able to relocate as well, I mean, obviously it's a big step, but if you are able to do that, that actually helps you, that furthers a bit more. But yeah, having a new environment around you definitely 100% helps with everything that you're doing. So when you are upskilling yourself, when you are self-developing and all these things you do, you definitely need a whole new environment around you to then implement all these things and take those actions. So take us through your steps of, you talked about mindset, plan, action, and results. So what's the thing behind it? What was that?
I've had a really great collaboration at the beginning of this year. I want to say in March. Yes, it was in March, with a group of coaches, where I've used the tool. There's no secret. It's out on the market. The tools, it's called Kenza, where I was able to create like a workflow throughout in between the sessions, pre-session, post-session, touch points in between the sessions, and so on. And I've noticed that with that framework, I was able to, obviously, for those that were involved, because like when you work with people, there are two type of potential clients or customers or coaches, however you want to call them. The ones that they believe that they pay, and that payment can be with money or time, and things will get done. And the other ones that they do pay with money or time, but they also understand that there's another part that needs to be action, meaning them doing the work, right? So I've noticed that with that framework, I was able on that second part, group part, to move them from a place of this is what I would like to achieve within a month. And within a month, we were able to achieve their goals, which were very, not easy, achievable, but they wouldn't see them happening within a month. And through that framework, without constantly checking, hey, are we on track for this thing to happen? Are we on track? But because they were, every day, touching, coming back to me, doing the exercise, answering to the questions that I had proposed to them, they were able to actually say yes at the end of the month. Oh yeah, let's look back at what were your goals. And they were like, oh my God, I actually did that. I actually did that. I actually did that. So I was like, I really love that. So my framework is working on a mindset in a place of the one-on-one meeting. And then that planning bit comes right before, I would say, like at the beginning of the collaboration, like what would you like to achieve those goals, but it's not a very structured plan. At least we know what we are working on, and based on that, I'll work on what worksheets will work best for these individuals. And then of course I evaluate during the one-on-one sessions to see if the plan that I've put in place for them actually still aligned considering the conversations. And yeah, that's pretty much the process that I follow. And I'm working behind the scenes. And I'm saying behind the scenes because, as you know, and as I presented to the world, I am taking a step back from coaching in the sense that I don't want to be on social media and saying, hey, coaching, coaching, coaching. I just want to take a step back and work at that process in a very deep level to be able to come to market and say, I'm not just coaching now. I actually have my own thing going on, and I know exactly how those results would be achieved based on that research done in March.
I love that actually, and I know how how I met you as well in terms of like because just listening to you now that you're taking a step back, because there was a time you were just appearing on my feed everywhere, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Facebook somehow as well. And even though I'm not active on Facebook, well, you'll just appear, and I was like, wow, there's a lot happening. It's like, is there a place that Valeria is not in? You're there, and I was like, oh wow, and I always wondered, how do you manage that? So how are you organizing yourself to balance that time of these platforms for how does that look like for you? You must be like busy off your. I can see some post-it notes then on some corner of the wall that tells you to do this on that date.
To be honest, I do have post-it notes everywhere. I have something like, I like my Eisenhower matrix is always in front of my eyes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I also have my note of, are you present now?
Wonderful. Yeah.
But I think it's the matrix, my dear friend. What do I mean by that? It's literally, I was always on LinkedIn only, really. And because I was very active there, I decided to take some of the posts that I was using and put them on Instagram. Really on Facebook, I was literally just creating the groups and the front face of the shop, let's put it like that, because I think that Facebook, it's not a place for me where I would like to promote. But I was actually on LinkedIn mostly, not so much everywhere, but it was more of a challenge for myself. I decided that I want to post every single day, no matter what. And once I decided to do that, then I had some scheduled ones, as in like pre-made, but sometimes, not sometimes, most of the times was literally like, what do I want to talk about today?
Wow. Okay. Good. That's actually, so it's what I'm trying to say here as well is, it does require some sort of, dedication, and that's what I've heard. So you need it. So you challenge yourself to do that. I want to post every day, some scheduled, but mostly you were like, okay, what do I want to talk about today? So you went with the heart as well. not like, okay, this is my marketing plan. I'm going to lay this down and this is what I'm going to talk about every day, or on Monday I'm do this, Tuesday I do that. So there was, I'll say a blueprint of the things you wanted to do, but they weren't 100% defined into, okay, that's what we're going to stick by. It's not written in stone, and you are going with, I would love to say you were going with the flow as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely was more flow than strategy, to be very honest. However, if I can talk from my experience throughout all of those months where I was posting on a daily basis, I now, knowing what I know now after all of the learning, I would say that having this program in the back of your mind and how it works, it would help to even come up with a strategy without even you actually putting pen to paper and actually creating that strategy. But knowing your structure and how you are going to deliver those meetings and those results for your clients would help out. Something that I was really missing, because I kind of went as a coach, I was a little bit against, I don't like these frameworks, the rain one, the whatever, the whatever. I felt like they kind of restrict me and I don't like them. And those can be helpful because you have some sort of strategy, but I didn't want any of that. So I kind of went like, every client is different, every approach is different, everything will be different. But on a long run doesn't work. That's why I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to take back, work on what I want to deliver, and then I'll come back with it. Yeah.
I love that. So, and what I'm also hearing here as well, your business model that you start with is not the ultimate business model for anybody who's looking to do a business or becoming a coach or entrepreneur, whatever that is. So you have an idea of what you want to create or what you want to do. Does not 100% mean it's the best thing out there in the world, because obviously it's a case of now trial and error, right? You're gonna commit to it. You're gonna try it and see if it works. If it doesn't work, you need to then go back to your drawing board and see, okay, am I true to this process? What I want to keep from it, what I've learned, and what do I need to change and adapt or make it a whole new process, whatever that is. And you have to do that throughout the cycle of your journey of you being entrepreneur, business coach, whatever that is. And that's what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, but also always keep it at least 90 days. Try it for 90 days and then drop it, not earlier than that.
Yeah, no, definitely, because you need to have a 90-day plan. So in a 90-day plan, you track that, and you track your achievements and losses, whatever that is. Successes and celebrations, whatever that would be. You have to track that and so forth. So take us through your is there some sort of routine or ritual that you follow that you would love to share, that this is how you start your day or end your day, that keeps you in your form?
Well, to be honest, it has been changing now that I am actually employed. Obviously, it's a little bit different. The one thing that hasn't changed at all is my stubbornness towards having those meditations. And I know, even if I'm not waking up as I used to wake up around 6 o'clock, now I'm waking up a little bit later at about 7. I still want to have that half an hour of meditation early in the morning, no matter what, regardless if I can connect with it or not. I do also believe that our body knows when something happens, even if our mind is not as connected. So, for example, what I'm trying to say with that is, meditation is very hard to get into that mindset. And I've struggled for years. I didn't understand it. But I believe back in 2020, I kind of decided, you know what, I've been trying it, and then I kind of dropped it, and I tried it, and I dropped it since 2012. But in 2020, I was like, no. From now on, I'm actually going to take the effort on a daily basis to, shut my mind. And some days work, some days didn't work, most days didn't work, but because I decided to do it, it just got better and better. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say you decided that you want to do half an hour of meditation every morning, even if your mind goes, far away from whatever is happening in the meditation, being that it's guided or not, still stay there in that place where you do meditate, because your body at least knows what's happening, even if your mind is like thinking
Mm-hmm.
of the bills, thinking of whatever comes to your mind, thinking of all the things that you have to do. At least your body knows, and it will help you with time to get there. So that's one of the things I've incorporated now. When I do commute, I do work from the office for 2 days a week, and it's a half an hour commute, so I know exactly which meditations I'm going to use for those commutes. And I would say even from evening, sometimes yes and sometimes no. I do give myself 10 minutes to play with my cats. It brings me a lot of joy. It keeps them active, and maybe a little bit active for me. I don't know. But those are my go-to must things to do: self-care and shutting the mind as much as possible.
I love that actually. That, and that's such interesting fact to hear, that you know you're giving yourself, what I'm hearing is you're creating that habit of meditation, and you know, hand on heart, that meditation has its baggage that comes with it. You know, like not everybody can get into it straight away. It's a skill that eventually you are able to do. Right, it's a bit. I think I sometimes I look into it as right, learning to ride the bicycle. Right, you don't know how to ride the bicycle straight away. That's why you have those stabilizers on the side, right, or some adult holding you until you are happy. But then it's still, when you have your two wheels on your bicycle, you are still falling down before you now know how to balance it, right? And that,
Mm.
and I'm looking at meditation the same way, right? So at the beginning, your brain is just used to the noise, right? It's used to the noise. There is, the only time it doesn't hear noise is when you're going to sleep, right?
Yeah.
And then it's not hearing anything from you, but it's now busy doing what it needs to do, right? And that's hence you start dreaming. So, and meditation, that's how I see it, right? It's everybody can do it if they give themselves that grace period of, yeah, the mind will wander off because it doesn't know yet. Yeah, it will
Yeah.
do that, but I need to practice. I need to still be here. So I sometimes say to people, you know, maybe choose a spot and be at that same
Yeah.
spot. You know, be at that same spot every time. Even though if you don't meditate, I mean, that's how I did it. I didn't know I was doing meditation, because a lot of stuff that I did spiritually, I didn't know that I was doing it. But there was times that I used to just be in my room, lights off. It's a dark room, so lights off and everything, and I'll just sit. You know, I'll
Mm-hmm.
just sit, eyes closed, but I will have my music blaring or something like that in the ear. But what I was doing was, I was telling my body that this is the time to just sit here. My mind can do whatever. Sometimes I'm enjoying the music, and what happened was, slowly, I started to then ask myself of my day. You know, how was my day, right? Then, because now my body knows that, okay, I can sit down here and do whatever. This is my time. Nothing will happen now. I'm not going out of the room. I'll just go out of the room when I now think, oh yeah, I've been recharged. You know, it's like you're walking around with 2% battery, and then you like suddenly you're looking for that charger and plug it in for just 2 minutes because you are somewhere else. You can't do it for any longer. And that's what I looked at it. Well, okay, put yourself down, recharge yourself, whether that's for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever that is for everybody. Mine was 30 minutes. I was in that room, total darkness for 30 minutes, but it didn't feel like 30 minutes because I was listening to my music. Uh, and then when I was like, yeah, I feel like now getting up and going, what I did feel was I was fresh and I was recharged. I didn't do any meditation. I'm not thinking of, yeah, I need to be one, I need to do this, oh, please, nothing like that. But it was telling my body that, okay, this is the time to reset. Okay, I'm not doing anything. Do what you need to do
Mm-hmm.
to refresh yourself, right? I'm giving you the break that you need, right? Because I look at us as, you know, as we are as similar to machines, right? All these machines that we have at home, right? Your laptops, your MacBooks, whatever that is. At one point, you do need to shut them down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So they go to sleep, and then you turn it
They
back
go
on
to
when you
sleep.
need. Yeah, and you need them when you turn them back on when you need to work. Oh, biggest example: the phones we are using now, right? There are
Yeah.
some time. There are times when they start glitching, and you're like, "Oh no, what's happening to my phone?" And everybody goes, "Yeah, switch it off and turn it back on."
that is
Yeah.
pretty much resetting. So your body needs that as well. And that's what I heard from you, that you're allowing yourself to have that time, whether that's playing with the cats and meditating. And I love the fact that you are meditating during commute, which is something I started doing a few years back. Um, when I don't like public transport a lot, so I try to avoid as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay living in London. I'm okay with tube
Mm-hmm.
traveling. That's fine. Tube travel, there's an etiquette in tube travel that nobody bothers you. Other travel places, a lot of people bother you. So uh, I started doing this sort of as well. Be headphones up, and I'll start listening to a podcast, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
and or the certain type of meditation which will cover that journey. I would have had downloaded it because I'm under the ground. The signal comes and goes, comes and goes. I'm like, okay, just download it and listen to it. And that actually helps. By the time you come out on the other side, you are refreshed, you
Yeah.
are upbeat, you are ready to take on the day, you're ready to just do what you were going to do, and that helps. And so that's, all that just came to my mind when you just shared that, which is amazing that you shared that. And thank you very much. I hope that listeners who are listening to this now taking away quite a lot from here, that allowing yourself that time to rest. Now, self-care, self-love are all these labels that they get thrown around everywhere now, and I believe they've lost their meaning.
Mm-hmm.
If you just go with like, okay, I need to look after myself. How do I look after myself? Is how you look after your phone. That's how I now see. I actually now see that
Yeah,
way. When I see
I can
someone's
see
phone
that.
in their hand, now if I see someone's phone in their hand and it's like pristine, nice, and maybe full battery or half battery, I'm like, okay, so that person is able to look after themselves as well, because they're looking after a device which is just part of their life now. It's not them, but it's part of their life.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making sure this is good so that they can function, right? And if I see now somebody with battered screen and all that stuff, and say, okay, there is
There is something.
there is something there, and work is needed. So that could reflect in your life as well, right?
Yeah.
What's your takes on that?
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I definitely agree. To be honest, I don't understand people that have their screens shut and then they try to look through, because that's so bad on your eyes. And I'm like, I appreciate it's, it costs money, but it costs money to fix your screen. But it's not about the screen. It's about, it costs money for your eyes to
Hmm.
struggle every time to look at it. So for me, it baffles me when I see that. And I agree with you. To be honest, when I recycle my phones, I give them to family and friends, right? And I was talking about my phone now with a cousin of mine, and he was like, "Oh, so how's the battery? How's the whatever?" I was like, "Dude, my phones have never suffered. Like they are all in perfect care." Because I know that the moment I buy them, I buy protective screen. The moment I buy them, I get the case. I know to have it charged because I need it for this whatever.
Mm.
So it's and I never like overcharge it and things like that, because it is an investment. It is part of our lives. And then why would I discharge something that helps me run my life in a way that whatever, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And I agree 100% with you. The one thing that I wanted to add with the community bit, because I don't want to forget it, I'm gonna be honest,
Yeah.
is to give you the best example is so because we said that we're gonna talk about it. I have ADHD. I'm a notorious always late person, always. If I'm not late 5 minutes, I don't feel good. I don't know, it's a thing. But I've never really had problems in work, which is funny. But I've always had very good flexible work in that approach of getting to work and things like that. But today, for example, I was supposed to work from home, and then last minute my manager said, "Hey, can you get in within an hour and 20 minutes?" And I was like, "Oh man, now I need to do all of these things that I'm, prep my bag, whatever, and so on and so
Hmm.
forth." I was like, "Yeah, I'll make my way, no problem." And I was hurrying, running around the house and getting everything together. So I wasn't present anymore. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late." Right. So I get to the station, and I start stressing, and I realize, looking at the time, knowing how far it is, I'm not going to get there by 10. So I send a message and I say, "Hey, I'll be there 15 minutes late, just so you know, FYI." And then I get myself into the train, and I could see how stressed I was by the situation, right? But I know, like, well, yeah, but this is my meditation time. I start at the second, not at my station, at the next one, because that's where we are out of the underground, so I can get connected to the app for the meditation. So I was like, yeah, but this is my time of meditation, because no matter how much I'm stressing right now, the train will not go faster. So better off put myself into my seat, pick up the meditation that I know that I'm gonna do for the length of the ride, and put it on. And by the time I got there, yes, I was 11 minutes late, but I wasn't stressed. I went into the meeting, I was present for the meeting, I was ready to go rather than be all over the place how I was in the morning. So yeah, trying I like to say, double time, right? Because you're doing something, you're commuting, but in the same time you can do something else for yourself, and why not take that opportunity? But yeah, no, very good point that you brought up in our conversation, especially what you were saying about the phone. It's interesting, I never looked at it like that, but I'll definitely pay more attention.
Yeah, it's part of our life, right? I mean, there's been a couple of times that my phone's got misplaced, and I felt homeless, right?
Oh, bless you.
I felt homeless, like, and there's another shocker, right? I don't remember phone numbers a lot, because since we have phone, it's in there now. Yeah. And there was a time like, how I can't call anybody to ring my phone. Because I don't know anyone's number to find out. But there's all other ways around it. But those feelings that came up, right? And I'm like, wow, that. So I noticed, and I was like, if I'm feeling like that, what about other people around the world, right? Who are also now relying on our phones as pretty much as a second you, right? And that's the second you. Your whole life is on that phone. From everything is there, I mean, and on your iPhones, you have your emergency context. Your medical history is on there now.
Yeah.
If you're using health apps and all that, right? So your medical history is on there. So you are literally in your phone, virtually, and that's what occurred to me when we were having that conversation. So you mentioned ADHD. So that could be interesting to know, also. How do you now manage that ADHD? And when is this something you found out later on in life, or you knew it from very earlier on?
I found out it this year, to be honest, because as a Romanian, it's not something that, first of all, exists in Romania. It does. I'm going to talk about Romania back in 2010, 2012, because that's pretty much when I left it. But even now, when I've actually had, the test and diagnosed, and I told my mom, she was like, "What is that?" Bless their hearts,
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm not gonna say, oh, my parents didn't see it, or the teachers didn't know it, or the system is so crap. Well, the system is that's a different conversation, but it's not something to blame someone, because it's not a conversation. To be honest, yet in Romania, it's still very difficult to talk about depression or anxiety. It doesn't exist. So for me, I'm not even going to blame it on anything like that. I believe that the reason why I found out is because I got very heavily involved on LinkedIn. And in the UK community on LinkedIn, there are a lot of people speaking up about it, right? And they were talking about different situations, as in the thing with the lateness, right? I always thought that, oh, what's wrong with me? I can never be on time. Well, actually, the way it presents in ADHD is that we don't have the understanding of how time works. Not that we are idiots and we don't understand what 5 minutes is, or 12 o'clock, or things like that, but we have the impression that in 5 minutes we can do things that normal people do in half an hour. But we are also regular humans, so we don't do them in 5 minutes. It's just that our impression is that in 5 minutes I can achieve all of those things, but actually you cannot. but that's pretty much it. So for me, it's always like when I need to get ready for all of my friends now, they know that they need to lie to me when we have a meeting. They need to lie to me. And it's not because, oh, I'm incapable. I mean, I am incapable, clearly, but it's not malice or disregard for the meeting, or disregard or disrespect towards them or anything like that. It's literally, it takes me longer than I calculated in my brain on how to get from one place to the other one and things like that. So when people started talking about things like this, I was like, that happens to me all the time, you know? And I've looked into other situations. I'm trying to find, learning. That's a huge one. I learn kinesthetic. I mean, I don't know if you know the differences now, because I know in Mind Valley, everybody talks about it, but in case you or other people don't know, there are 4 different ways of how people learn: read and write, the regular one, right? Video, audio, and then kinesthetic. Kinesthetic means that if you do it with me right now, I'll learn it and I'll not forget about it. But if you teach me video and I'm looking at what you're doing, I'm gonna be possibly half present to what's happening and know nothing about it tomorrow. Like if you will ask me, so what do you remember? Like, whatever, I do not know. So yeah, that was another thing. But however, there is a discrepancy there, because a lot of people think that if you have ADHD, it means that you're bad at school. Something that I personally wasn't. In Romania, you have grading systems from 1 to 10. I've always been 9+. So awesome. I wasn't a bad student as per ADHD rules, right? I've never lost a job in my entire life. I always left the place and I always had a plan after I left. So that was the discrepancy that I would keep asking myself, oh, do I have it, or is it in my mind, or whatever? Mm-hmm. And then when I've done the test, it was like ding, 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 big time ADHD, you know? So yeah, it's for me right now, it's a learning progress. It's something that I'm trying to understand as much as possible from my knowledge, which is again quite limited because I only know about it from this year, but I am going to get into training for ADHD coach next year, not now. It's something like we have a different way of thinking, or the way our our connections within whatever happens there is different than the neurotypical person. And also we have high level of empathy, but empathy is understood a little bit different. People think that if you're an empathetic person, it means that you can understand what other people feel, as in through their stories, you kind of understand it. It's more than that. What that is, for example, if you, and I'm going to give you a very bad example, but if you treat me nasty, I get into that energy. That's the empath part of me. And I will reflect back to you. So I'll be nasty to you, but not because I want to be like, oh, you're nasty to me and I'm going to be nasty to you. It's like, I'm literally copying the way you're acting, and I'll come back to you with the same type of response. Another example is, this was a horrible one. In my previous role, there was a lady that called me and she said, my brother died unexpectedly, and I do not know if I can go for my travel. I was, I was selling cruises, and the travel was literally in about, 1 or 2 weeks, which meant that they couldn't get a refund. That was pretty much the idea. So she was asking, what are the possibilities around the refund? I have a brother. When she told me that her brother died unexpectedly, I kid you not, I started crying on the phone because I felt her pain instantly. I went and I talked with all the managers possible, got her a refund. I called her back and tell her, I'm going to be able to give you a refund. Don't worry about it. You'll be with your family. I was like, oh no, actually I changed my mind. I think my brother would want me to travel. I'm like, what the fuck? But I took it so strongly because I felt her pain very deeply. It was literally you know. So an empath, it's not only that you can understand what other people, you actually feel all of those pains, you know, which can be very detrimental in any situations, because as a child, when your brain develops and you already have a little bit of a slight difference, feelings, they are much more enhanced for someone who is neurodiverse. And in my family, unfortunately, it was never you know, roses and rainbows. It was more screams and fights. And with that, you know, I became an introvert and blah 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 blah. But it also accelerated and evolved the difference between a neurotypical to a neurodiverse. So it accentuates that.
Wow. It's actually because, you know, I don't know a lot about ADHD, and listening from you is also, you know, clearing up a lot of myths that I get to hear from, you know, so it's good to hear from yourself. I mean, obviously, you know more than myself already, that there's different versions of ADHD, right? So I mean, it's a, I think people like to put people in category anyway. So you're like, oh yeah, you're in this box now because of this, and hence you do this. You should be doing all of the rest that everybody else does in this box. We're like, well, no, I might do one or two things, but the rest are not. Like you were, you know, a 9+ student, right? So it's not, you're not a bad student, and so it doesn't really. That's what I was hearing. So, and also what I also heard there was, you know, like, because you didn't know all ADHD and all that stuff until last year when in UK. So all that time, you actually went through what everybody else had to do, right, to be successful. You know, have good marks, get good grades, move along. So that was all normal for you, right? You weren't challenged. Oh no, this is not wrong. This is what you're doing, and you know, you were continuing it. So it wasn't a huge factor of ADHD. I mean, there are extreme cases out there that I've heard of, you know. So yeah, I'm not denying that that's not the fact, but there is. And now maybe what I'm seeing here is that ADHD came to you as a gift, because yeah, you're 5 minutes late. So what? You know, like now people are used to know, and now they tell you wrong time. So they tell you, and maybe an earlier time. So you're like 5 minutes. You're actually late. You come to the actual time, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I this just reminds me that I had a few friends that we used to do that to them, because they were always late. So we used to give them half an hour earlier times, and so they turn up 15 minutes late from that half an hour time, which means we have another 15 minutes to go to the place we were going. So that's fine. So you know, that's completely understandable. But that's actually it sheds a good light for the listeners who might be not aware of the situation and what the ADHD has to go through. So once, how was that pivotal moment for you? Once you now, you know, your bells went off, right? Okay, you've done the test, and they confirmed. They say, yep, you know, let's put a label on you now. ADHD. Here you go. It's confirmed. Did you had any pivotal moment that time? What was did you decided to change some habits, or what was going through your mind that time?
There were two parts of it. One of it was accepting the fact that, well, it is viewed as a disorder, equal there's something wrong with you, you know. And the more I personally learn about it, I understand that they've put it in a box of disorders, but actually it's a different way of thinking. Different way of doing things, and also because it's so much easier to see the neurotypical individual, because neurotypical are usually, not that everybody's the same, but they act in a very specific, regular type of ways. Meanwhile, neurodiverse, like you said, and you've realized, it's when you know a person who's neurodiverse, you know one type of neurodiversity. So it's very hard to say, hey, you're in a box, but people do tend to put everybody in that box. So it was very difficult for me to kind of accept it. But at the same time, it gave me permission to have a breather, because I did have, for example, a very, good friend in the past. Not that she was doing it on purpose, by all means. I'm not saying that she was a bad person. She was a wonderful person, but the judgmental looks whenever I was late, which was always, or even the comments are like I'm not being respectful towards other people's time. Obviously it came with a pain inside, and trying to say, well, it's not about you, it's about me. But actually, I was the one that was always late, right? So I gave myself a bit more of a grace for many things. For example, so I'm not really good at implementing a system. I wouldn't be able to create and implement a system easily. But if you give me a system, I'll find ways to improve it out of the box. Because that's the way I think. Like every conversation that I've had, particularly with coaches, when we were talking about sales and approaches, they were like, oh, I didn't even think about this option. Oh, I didn't even think of it. It's like, yeah, because I see it different ways than what a neurotypical would see, which is logic. I see different. I think different, So it came with negative and positives. And now I'm at a place where I'm accepting it. I want to understand what I can, work in the sense of like, plastiline, when you kind of mold it in a way. Yeah. To work best with my life and my goals in the way that I want to achieve them. And also I'm very curious to learn more, because I have a hunch, like somewhere deep down inside my heart there tells me that I believe that the world is split like in a half. I think that half of people are neurodiverse and half of people are neurotypical. And I think out of that half of people that are neurodiverse, possibly maybe 5%. I'm just giving nonsense percentage because I don't have the science before, but that's my intuition. Because having conversations with different people, like now I see the, oh, okay, that's different, different. And it's interesting to see that my very close friends, they are there, which is so interesting to see. It's like, it's mind-blowing, to be honest. My very close friends, the one that I enjoyed the best time, they are neurodiverse. And it's like, poof.
Wow. That's actually, it's amazing to hear. The moments that you had to go through, and then realizing that your best friends that you're close to are part of the same community, for example, right? So it's amazing, and a realization happening there. So take us through a little bit of your journey in terms of how are you helping if somebody wants to get in touch with you. Where can they get in touch with you, and what are you able to offer them at the moment?
To be very honest, right at this moment, I'm not looking to get any clients, if that's what you're hinting at, but I'm looking at starting the coaching back in the new year. I want to say sometime in February, because I don't want to be a January thing, that everybody starts something and then everybody drops everything. I'm going to be a bit more like a February, when it's a little bit more of a Valentine month, right? I don't know, I'm just being cheeky now. But yeah, that's pretty much when I'm planning to start looking at getting clients for the program that I'm working. But also it will be, 2, maximum 3, because I am employed full time and I'm really loving the job. And to be honest, I want to get really good at that job as well. So, and that's another neurodiverse thing. We like to do many things at the same time. And I'm finding joy in my work right now, and I want to do the coaching bit because I'm just so passionate about it, and I think that there's a lot to give in that framework. So yeah, where to find me? LinkedIn, hey, and here on Instagram in DMs. I'm always happy to have a conversation. And yeah, it would be literally program focused on mindset in the one-on-one conversation, but I am looking to work with people that actually want to have something achieved something that they are eager to get done, rather than, I do not know what I want. We
Mm-hmm.
can work on that, but I feel like my zone of genius is when someone has a goal, I can help them achieve that goal rather than going into discovering that goal.
Wow,
That's
okay.
where I shine.
That's actually good, and yeah, I can see that, as you mentioned before, like, yeah, you can help and improve what you already have, right? So you can see a system and you say, have you, like, let's see what errors, what we missed as a typical brain, right? So let's see what you can see from from a super brain point of view, right? That's how I look at it. You've got the super brain, because I look at it as a gift as well, because um, there the also the a lot of inventors out there had
Yeah.
these, right? So, and hence we have all these commodities that we use now because of that, right? So that's actually amazing to hear. So yeah, I will definitely recommend everybody who's been watching us and listening to this episode now to get in touch with you. If you have a project and you're not sure what the next step is, and or how to implement it, or what to do with this, and you maybe have a framework but it's not working out and you can't pinpoint it, definitely I can see that you're the best person for it. um with something I wanted to ask, do you read books or you listen to the books? What do you do what with the books?
Do you know what? There are a few apps that they are like kind of narrowed down on the subject, but very good question, because no, you're right. I don't really read books. But if a book is really good, and obviously if it's structured well, visually pleasant, rather than written, and I get lost in all of those
Mm.
rows, I am the person that will have the book here, read through, and write down. And that's pretty much, getting the information from the book down on the paper, kind of structure it. I end up having like a map of things like that make no sense to anyone, but makes a lot of sense to me. you know? So yeah, that's how I do with books. But yeah, if I would have to choose between listening or reading, I will always go by listening. That's
Mhm.
much more approachable. But if I have something to learn, I have to combine the visual, pleasant, to writing down, seeing how that can be implemented. So for me to actually understand the book, I need to find a practical way of how that learning can be implemented, possibly in real life, in a
Mhm.
project, in things like that. So I have to have that connection for me to stick with it. Yeah.
That's quite interesting, and that's the reason I wanted to understand that. And thank you for expanding onto that. That's a great insight to see that as well. So we should be wrapping this up now shortly. And what would you like to in terms of share with the audience who are now listening to this as we wrap this up? What would you like to say as the final things?
Ah, I have this say that I always like to tell people, and I don't want to take too much time, but do you know that story that Simon Sinek talks about Nike? Have you heard it?
I know of it, but I don't know 100%, but I know of it. Yes.
Okay, so Nike was created for athletes, supposedly, right? So Nike goes at
Hmm.
a conference, like the CEO or someone from Nike, big someone from Nike goes, and
Yeah.
it's like a big conference of huge amount of people, and says, "Hey, who here runs? Stand up!" And obviously, a whole bunch of people stand up. Who here runs? 5 days a week? Stay, stand up, and the other ones go down. Who here runs? 2 times a week or something like. I think that no, actually did it the other way around. 2, 3 times, 5 times a week. Who here runs when it also rains outside? And then it's like just a couple of people. And they say, when you're there alone, under the sky with rain and whatever, we are there with you because you're doing it anyway. Like, the just do it is not like get it done. It's like just go out and do it, regardless of where you are. So for
Mm.
me, my I really love that story, but this didn't come up from that story, but it's like just gives me a bit more of a to promote this, which is like, feel your fear around whatever you want to do, and do it anyway, because the
I
fear
love
will
that.
never go.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it will go with time, but there will not be a time where there will be no fear to just, say, okay, I'm not afraid now, I can do anything. No, feel your fear and do it anyway.
I love that, and thank you for expanding onto that. Feel your fear, and do it anyway. We'll always have fears anyway, because our brains designed that way to give you fear. Is the way is designed to protect us, and the
Yeah.
only way it knows how to protect you is to instill fear of anything which is it's not aware of, and that's all it is. But yeah, feel the fear, and do it anyway. Uh, now, Valeria, thank you very much for taking the time out and sharing your wonderful journey with us as well, and also shining a little bit more light onto ADHD as well. So, everybody who's listening to this episode now, if you had a spark or any aha moment, it's your duty now to share this episode with whoever or whomever that might have just appeared on your mind, or you think should watch this episode, because we don't know who's woken up on going to bed thinking of a better day. And if you had the aha moment or a spark, that's all we need to create in the other person as well, because a spark is all we need to turn the light on to get the people going. So I'll urge anybody who's watching this or listening to this, share it with somebody else, to move the inspiration out there as well, because that's all this episode needs to do, is create inspiration. We will see everybody again on next Tuesday with another amazing entrepreneur coach. And Valeria, I would like to say thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me. I cannot tell you how grateful I am, and I really, really loved our conversation, and I'm looking forward to hear myself speak. Hey.
No, thank you very much. You take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.